Today we're dissecting a very distinct and highly pragmatic pedagogical philosophy for English language learning. We're looking specifically at the modules English at the Restaurant and Common Small Talk, which are presented by instructors Ryan and Mary.
And these modules, they come with a very specific, I'd almost say aggressive promise. Speak with power, be understood everywhere. They propose a method of learning that explicitly bypasses what they call confusing grammar in favor of these rigid scenario-based scripts.
Right, so the central tension we're examining today is really the efficacy of this script-first approach. Does the Ryan and Mary method, which relies on these, high-utility, memorized phrases like table for two, does it genuinely upgrade a learner's ability, or does it just construct a fragile facade of fluency?
Exactly. The question is, are we building a foundation for language, or are we just, painting a cardboard cutout to look like a speaker?
I am the advocate, and my position is that this scripted confidence is really the only effective antidote to the paralysis, that sort of fight or flight response that plagues so many adult learners. By removing the cognitive load of grammar, this method lets the learner function in the real world immediately.
And I am the dissenter. My position is that by prioritizing performance over understanding, by explicitly telling students to ignore the mechanics of the language, this method leaves them, helpless the moment reality deviates from their script. It's a survival kit, not a language course.
Okay, so let's begin with that core philosophy. I am championing the premise that Ryan states right at the opening of the material. He asks a question that I think resonates with anyone who's learned a second language. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and when the server starts talking, your mind goes blank? That's specific anxiety. That is the primary barrier. It isn't a vocabulary deficit, it's a panic response.
Oh, I don't deny the anxiety exists. It's a very real phenomenon, but I take issue with the proposed cure.
Well, the cure is cognitive offloading. When Ryan and Mary provide a linear, entrance to bill structure, they're creating a mental roadmap. Table for two, please. It's under Carter. These are not just phrases, they're psychological anchors. If a learner has to construct a sentence from scratch, worrying about subject-verb agreement or prepositions, their brain freezes. If they have a preloaded script, they can just bypass the processing center and speak. Mary argues, confidence builds fluency. I believe she's correct on a chemical level. You can't learn if your cortisol levels are spiking.
Confidence builds fluency is a catchy slogan, yes? But let's look at what they're actually building. Ryan says, you don't just learn English, you upgrade it. To me, upgrading implies a deepening of complexity, a widening of one's neural network. What I see in this source material is a flattening of the language. They explicitly advise, keep sentences short, no confusing grammar. This is a philosophy of reduction.
I'd call it a philosophy of efficiency. It prioritizes the transaction over the theory.
Machine, you get the soda. You say, I'll have the pasta, and you get the pasta. But human communication is not a vending machine. By training a student that simple English works perfectly, you are creating a false expectation. You are training them for a world where everyone cooperates with their script. The moment they step off that path, the confidence you value so highly evaporates because they have no underlying grammatical framework to fall back on.
I think you're underestimating the sheer utility of the happy path for a beginner. But let's move into the core debate and test this rigid script against the dynamic environment. You mentioned the restaurant scenario. The material outlines a specific progression: entrance, table, order, bill. I would argue this linear progression constitutes, 95% of dining experiences globally?
95% is a very generous statistic, but let's look at the script they provide for the entrance. The learner says, table for two, please. The host asks, do you have a reservation? The learner replies, no, we don't. In Ryan and Mary's world, the host then seats them. Smooth sailing.
It is smooth. It gets the job done without the learner sweating through their shirt.
But what happens in the real world? The host says, we're actually on a 40-minute wait, but there's standing room at the bar if you want to grab a drink first, or we have a high top available in the patio section.
That is a complex sentence for an A2 learner. Certainly.
It's a reality sentence. And the learner, armed only with table for two and no, we don't, has just hit a concrete wall. The script has failed. They know how to declare their presence, but they lack the tools to negotiate or even comprehend the alternative option offered. The method assumes the world follows the script. When the waiter improvises, the learner isn't just lost, they're more panicked than before because their safety net broke.
I see why you'd think that, but let me offer a different perspective. That argument creates a sort of straw man where the learner is completely helpless. The material does account for variables. Look at the decision branch in the ordering section. The waiter asks, "Are you ready to order?" The material explicitly teaches the binary choice. Option A, "Yes, I'll have the chicken sandwich." Option B, "Not yet. Can we have a few more minutes?" Or, "I'm still deciding."
A binary choice is hardly conversational nuance. It's a toggle switch.
It is strategic control. And this is critical. It empowers the learner to control the pacing of the interaction. If they are overwhelmed by that complex sentence about the patio and the bar, they have a preloaded phrase, "Can we have a few more minutes?" to buy themselves time. That isn't just parroting, that is strategic management of the conversation. They are pausing the input stream to process. That's a high-level coping strategy disguised as a simple phrase.
It's a pause button, certainly, but eventually you have to hit play. And that brings us to the specificity issue. I'm looking at the ordering section. I'd like the pasta, please. Can I get the steak? This is functional, yes, it avoids starvation. But Ryan claims this is upgrading your English. True upgrading involves nuance.
But there is nuance here. If you look at the question section, this is one of the strongest parts of the material because it flips the power dynamic. Usually, the learner is the passive recipient of questions. This module teaches them to investigate. What comes with this? Is this spicy? And the crucial allergy check. Does this have nuts?
I will concede the value of the allergy question. That is a safety requirement, not a linguistic flourish.
It's more than safety. These are information gathering tools. When a learner asks, "What do you recommend?" they are inviting the waiter to speak. They are forcing an interaction that requires listening. That refutes your vending machine theory. You can't just put in a token. You have to process the response. They are initiating a feedback loop.
But do they have the tools to process the response? That remains my concern. Let's look at the cooking exchange. The script goes, "How would you like it cooked?" Answer, "Medium, please." Simple, natural. But suppose the waiter asks, "Do you want a warm red center or a pink center?" That is a very common way to clarify doneness, especially in the US. A learner trained only to hear the trigger phrase, "How would you like it cooked?" and respond medium might just panic at warm red center.
You are focusing on edge cases.
Life is made of edge cases. Language is defined by its unpredictability. The rigidity of the script makes the learner fragile. They are listening for specific trigger words, and if the waiter uses a synonym or a different structure, the learner misses the cue entirely.
But you have to walk before you can run. You're asking them to sprint through warm red center when they are just learning to stand up. Let's talk about conflict resolution. This is where the material shows, I think, significant sophistication for this level. They tackle the problem scenario. Maybe the food is cold.
A dangerous game for a beginner.
I disagree. Look at the phrasing. "Excuse me, this is cold. I think there's a mistake." This teaches social grace alongside the language. Ryan emphasizes, "Be polite but clear." This gives the learner permission to advocate for themselves without fear of being rude. It upgrades their social standing from passive observer to paying customer with rights. And I suggest this is the highest risk area in the entire module. Initiating a complaint like, "I didn't order this," invites actually. It demands a complex explanation from the staff. The waiter might say, "Actually, you ordered the combo which comes with the soup, not the salad, as stated on the back of the menu."
Now, who is inventing complex scenarios?
That is a standard service industry response, isn't it? If the learner only knows, "I think there's a mistake," they are setting themselves up for a confrontation they cannot finish. They're starting a fire they can't put out. My worry is that the material gives them the confidence to start a conflict, but not the competence to resolve it if the other party pushes back. They have the opener, but no closer.
So they should just eat the cold soup in silence because they haven't mastered the subjunctive mood? No, but they should be aware that simple English has its limits. However, let's pivot to the other source material, Common Small Talk. This seems to attempt to bridge that gap between transactional and relational English.
Yes, and this connects directly to the idea of fluency. Mary states that small talk isn't deep, but it builds relationships. This module is brilliant in its simplicity. It moves the learner from robotic answers to connection using the one detail rule.
Explain that rule as you interpret it.
Ryan says, when asked how are you, don't just say, I'm fine. That's a conversation killer. Say, I'm good, just a little tired. That addition, that just a little tired, transforms the exchange. It offers a hook for the other person, it humanizes the speaker, it changes the interaction from a ping-pong match of robotic pleasantries into a potential conversation.
I will acknowledge that the ask the question back, how about you, is an excellent survival strategy. It shifts the burden of speaking back to the other person, which is clever. It allows the learner to hide in plain sight. However, I take issue with Mary's dismissal that small talk is not deep. She uses examples like the weather. It's much colder than yesterday.
Which is the most common conversation starter in the known universe.
It is, but by categorizing it as safe and simple, I think they minimize the cultural difficulty of these exchanges. Small talk is often where the most subtle cultural signaling happens. Discussing the weather is safe, yes, but relying on scripts like, it's really hot today, right? Creates a facade. It's mimicking social behavior rather than engaging in it. It's, phatic communication, stripped of intent.
But safe is the entire point. We go back to the core anxiety, the mind blanking. The goal of this material is to lower the stakes. If I can successfully navigate a conversation about the weather or my weekend using a script, it was relaxing, I visited my family, I free up mental energy. I'm not panicking about the past tense verb, I'm just communicating. The one detail rule forces the learner to provide something real, even if the structure is scripted.
I visited my family is a fact, yes. But looking at the what do you do section, the answers are, I work in marketing, I'm a student. Ryan calls this natural. I call it boilerplate. My concern remains that while these scripts prevent silence, they also prevent the messy, necessary struggle of finding one's own voice. If you always rely on Ryan's answer for, what do you do for fun? I like watching movies. Do you ever learn to express what you actually love if it isn't on the list?
But the list is a template, not a prison. They offer variations. I enjoy going to the gym. I'm into music. The learner can swap music for pottery once they have the structure I'm into. The material provides the syntax so the learner can insert the semantics. It's scaffolding. You don't live in the scaffold, you use it to build the building.
Perhaps. But the advice to avoid confusing grammar still worries me. You cannot upgrade a system by ignoring its operating code. You're suggesting they learn the interface without understanding the back end.
You can if the user interface is intuitive. And that's what this is. It's a UI for English.
That's an interesting metaphor. To that point, let's look at the bill section of the restaurant module again. Can we split the bill, or we'll pay together? Again, binary options.
And they are crucial. Know me how to ask, do you accept cards, prevents a deeply awkward situation at the register. These are practical tools that solve immediate problems. They prevent the social shame of not being able to pay correctly.
May solve problems, yes, but I return to this illusion of fluency. If a student uses all these phrases perfectly, orders the steak, asks for water, chats about the weather, pays the bill, they have performed a play. The waiter might think, wow, their English is great. But the moment the waiter makes a joke or uses slang or asks a question outside the script, the illusion shatters. That fall from perceived fluency to actual incomprehension can be devastating for a learner's confidence.
I think you underestimate the resilience of learners. The illusion, as you call it, is actually a bridge. By successfully navigating that dinner, even if it was a performance, the learner proves to themselves that they can exist in an English-speaking world. They didn't starve, they didn't offend anyone, they paid the bill. That success breeds the confidence to then learn more. The upgrade is the shift from silence to participation.
Participation is valuable, I grant you that. But we have to be honest about what this is. This is a survival kit. It's a set of flares and rations. It is not the skill of hunting and gathering.
But you need the rations to survive the first week. If you starve to death on day 1 because you were trying to learn the theory of hunting, the outcome is 0.
Fair enough. As we're nearing the end of our time, how do we summarize this approach?
I see a method that respects the emotional reality of the learner. Ryan and Mary understand that fear is the enemy. By providing scripts like "It's under Carter" or "I'm just a little tired," they give the learner armor. The upgrade isn't about mastering the subjunctive mood. It's about mastering the self. It turns a terrifying chaos into a manageable checklist. It allows the learner to engage with the world rather than hide from it.
And I see a method that offers a functional survival kit for A2B1 learners, which is undeniable. However, I caution against mistaking this kit for true fluency. It's a script for a play where the other actors, the waiters, the new acquaintances might not know their lines. If you rely solely on this, you're fragile. I'd urge listeners to use these phrases as a starting point, a launch pad, but not the destination. Don't fear the confusing grammar. That grammar is where the real meaning lives.
That is a fair warning, but I will stand by the premise that confidence builds fluency. You cannot learn the nuance if you never even enter the restaurant. By successfully navigating a dinner using "Can we split the bill?", the learner proves they belong in the room.
They belong in the room, yes, but we want them to eventually own the room, not just rent a table in it.
A worthy goal. But whether one favors the script or the struggle, the ultimate goal is, as the source material states, to speak with power.
And be understood everywhere.
We leave it to you, the listener, to decide if you should memorize the lines.
Or study the grammar.
Likely, you will need to do both.
Thank you for listening.
Until next time.